Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I'm back here at JRC Visa Consultancy and Immigration Services here in Cebu City, and we're going to go over quite a number of things on various visas. There's been some changes, one that takes effective today as far as who can come into the Philippines and travel here. And first of all, JRC has several offices across the Philippines. We'll talk a little bit about his offices and his services, and then we'll get into more specifics of the various visas that are available. So, JR, can you tell us about where you have offices located?
Yeah. Hello, Rod. How are you? It's been a while, and I'm very happy to see you again. And thank you for having me in your channel again this time. And yeah, our offices or our services, right? Our services basically start with our visa and immigration. That is where JRC Visa Consultancy and Immigration Services come into place, and we also have some complementary services along the way. Like if you're a foreigner going to the Philippines to relocate, retire, we can also help you on real estate matters. We can also help you if you're setting up a business here or have set up a business here in the Philippines, for you to have a full compliance, or what are the things that you need to comply with the Philippine government while doing your business. And also there will be our legal counsel. We have attorneys in place in our company that can also help you on some legal matters also, for you to check on. Like for example, if you need to prepare your last will or your trust agreement for you to protect your visa deposit or other properties that you would like to be on that person once you'll be in the other place that you would be. So that's more likely, those are the major services that we have. And also we have a couple of branches that are situated in the Philippines for now. Our main office is in FGU building, that is across Ayala Terraces Mall. That's where the building that has the Citibank on the ground floor. We also have our office in J Center Mall. We also have our office in Mall Boal, down South Cebu. We also have our office in Panglao Island. That's somewhere in Alona, near the BDO Bank. And we also have our Dumaguete office. And we have our Boracay office. And also we have touch base our team, not an office yet, but our team have already been assigned in Manila for us to give our best possible service and assistance to those people who would need our services in the Luzon area, especially in the National Capital Region and also with the Metro Manila. So that is the company, and we are located on those locations. But that does not mean that if you're not within that range of areas, we cannot actually help you. Just get in touch with us, and we will actually do our best to know what you need, and we'll be taking it from there.
All right. And some of these issues, in fact, it's better to start in their home country because they've got access to their documents.
Yes, that's true.
Their documents. If they come here and they forgot to bring certain types of documents, that can be an issue.
Yes.
Right.
That's we bump into some major issues right now, especially with the application of the Retirement Special Residence Retirees Visa, or SRRV, or otherwise known as the Retirement Visa, because those have documentary requirements and also with the monetary requirements. We bump into a challenge or a roadblock if a certain foreigner have actually not done the visa deposit yet and was already in the Philippines and he's doing the online banking, but unfortunately the remitting bank or his bank in the US while doing the online banking is requiring a routing number, in which that is not well recognized here as of the moment in the Philippines. That is one of the roadblocks that we encounter. And also there are things also on the documentary side, like for example, if you're applying for the retirement visa and you qualify for a good special category if you have served the US military, but not only with the US military but with other nationalities as well, that will also be covered subject for pre-approval. But going back, what we experience is the perception of an applicant, retiree applicant, is once he has it notarized, these documents like DD-214, Social Security, police clearance with no criminal record, on the assumption they assume that once it's notarized, it's already been acceptable in the Philippines. But no, there is what we call an authentication process that is different from the notary. So once it's notarized, it does not mean that it will be acceptable in the Philippine government. Of course, if you are in the shoes of the Philippine government, that would be a foreign document. Before, it's what we call red ribbon. So if I am from the US and I am an American, I would go to the Philippine Embassy to have those documents authenticated by a red ribbon. That's what we called before. But way back in 2019, they make it more simpler. It's what we call now apostille. It's a process of authenticating a document without you going to the Philippine Embassy. So it is a private firm as long as they are authorized to do the apostille. So it's apostille is actually it's a stamp or a 1/4 size of the short bond paper or a legal size bond paper that is stamped and indicated at the back portion of the document that we're actually referring to. It's just like it states there in the first part, apostille. So that is good now then to be received as a requirement, especially if you're applying for the retirement visa.
Okay.
So, but as of now, our company has been trying to reach out some apostille firm that can do the apostillization or authentication on that process, and we are trying to constantly connect with them so that actually we can bring in service to our clients, also especially for those who have been already here in the Philippines.
Okay, very good. And you offer services in a broad range of things. The tourist visa extensions, the 13A, the marriage visa, the SRRV, the retirement visa, as well as the business services, like
Yes.
accounting and business consulting, setting up businesses, renewing business licenses,
Yes.
all that type of thing. And you've got a lawyer here
Yes.
in case somebody needs a will done or power of attorney, all that type of thing.
Yes.
So,
So the company offer a wide range of services with our clients in mind, so that they will have the legal and the peace of mind if they relocate here in the Philippines. That is the main objective, because if you go here, one thing that you need is a visa. So we have our accreditation in place with the Bureau of Immigration for the visa issued by the Bureau of Immigration. We also have our accreditation in place with the Philippine Retirement Authority for the SRRV. And also in terms of the compliance, it may be different, or not maybe, but it's the way of doing things here in the Philippines is way different from yours. So that is where we come into place to let you understand those differences among the procedures, so that you will not be disappointed, you will not be frustrated of your expectations because you're coming here to the Philippines. That is one of the reminder that I always bring into the team, that hey, we are here to serve and we are here to give options, and at the end of the day, whatever options that our client chooses from, that is where we take it from there. So we will move forward based on how you actually take a look at the options, really.
all right, let me interject something here too, because the question is, you know, why use an agent? And I did my tourist visa extensions for a year or two on my own, and my experience there, watching and observing, sometimes it went very smoothly, especially when I got used to it. But I saw people in there, they get upset, they start arguing with immigration officers. And that's the last thing you want to do.
That is not the situation that you will not be in. That is not the situation that you would like to be in that place.
You know, imagine these guys. They're you know, English is their second language. They do a very good job, but they're dealing with people from hundreds of countries, hundreds of different accents, and questions, and these people are showing up with various degrees of complete and incomplete documents, and they're trying. I've seen them. They're trying to explain. Well, you need to do this. You need to go get pictures taken for this. You need 3 copies of this. And the reason to use an agent like JR is he knows the language. He knows the system. They know him, and so it's. And you're not going to get all stressed out. And I've had a number of people that have been there too a couple times, and they said, "No, I'm using JR from now on. I don't want to go through that anymore." So there are JR knows what is accepted. He knows what they're accepting. For instance, in fact, when you apply for the SRRV and various things, you've got a questionnaire to fill out, forms to fill out, and he knows the types of answers that they're looking for. And not that they're dishonest answers. It's just that there are certain answers that come across better than if you might just put down something that doesn't make a lot of sense. So anyway, let's move on to you have an update on some procedures, who's allowed into the Philippines, the IATF resolution, whatever they call it.
Yeah, we actually bumped into another recent update from the IATF resolution number 168. The highlight of that update is they are actually taking the requirement of the RT-PCR before you can actually come to the Philippines, provided that particular traveler is 18 years old and above and have taken at least 1 booster shot. So once you have that, then you may not take the RT-PCR test before flying to the Philippines, because before it was like 48 hours you need to take the negative PCR test or the antigen test from any laboratory in the next 24 hours before your scheduled departure date. But if you have actually taken the primary vaccination series, which is the first 2 doses for the 2-dose vaccine or a single-dose vaccine plus a booster shot, then you will not be required to have the PCR test. Then another one, the highlight of that also is if you're a foreign traveler on tourist visa wanting to go here in the Philippines under the EO 408 or the non-visa required nationalities, it's not the travel insurance of 35,000 US is not also required, but it's highly recommended. Now, here in the Philippines, we can talk about a lot of things, but if you have some verbal statements, it will be more enforceable if you have actually an actual copy or a hard copy for that. So if you're gonna take that option, I know some of you will do your research. I know Westerns. I have done that. When they come to the Philippines, I told my team, okay, hey, they are actually trying to check if we really know what we're doing. And that's a fact, and I have felt that. And before you come here, I know you'll do a lot of research. You're gonna take a look at a lot of vloggers out there. And mind you, I think Rod will also be putting the link of that particular IATF resolution. Print that out, because that will be your reference to the event that they will, hey, it's not yet allowed here, and it's actually effective on the 30th day of May 2022, that is today, Philippine time. And also, there's also one thing there that actually I wanted to cite in terms of clarification, because most of you I know that you would actually read it. Good that you will read it from start to finish. That's a 7-pager resolution, and there's a section there from D that's talk about unvaccinated. Don't be confused with that. The Philippine government still taking a look at those people who have taken their vaccination and those who have taken their booster shot. Unvaccinated, unfortunately, right now is not yet allowed to enter the Philippines. That is clear, because that section D is a section after what they talk about the fully vaccinated Filipinos. So that entails or refers mainly to the Filipino national. That does not have something to do with the foreign travelers going to the Philippines. And also, a part of that on the 6th page of that 7-pager resolution, it specifically states that inbound Filipino travelers and foreign nationalities going to the Philippines are still required to register at the One Health Pass. So that is clear. So go over that document. If you want to plan out your trip here, especially you have your booster shot, probably it will be very difficult for you from your country of origin to get the RT-PCR and you have your booster. That is your way right now, or it will be two requirements off the list for you to be more conveniently traveling to the Philippines.
Now, with a new president, new administration in here, people are saying, hey, are the rules going to change? Have you heard anything about any immigration, any talk about, like Thailand, for instance, put in a tourist tax? And, you know, these governments, they've been shut down. They've lost tens of, well, billions of dollars over the last 2 years. And I'm thinking they may be raising some fees. They may be doing what Thailand started a tourist tax. It's like $12, something like that. It's not a lot, but it's a tax.
True.
Have you heard anything about changes to the immigration system?
So far, I have not heard anything yet from the Bureau of Immigration and from other related government offices. But I have bumped into few questions from a foreigner asking me, JR, can I still extend for 36 months if the new immigration law will be passed? I think this is the law, the Bureau of Immigration Modernization Act. I think that he is referring to that because I have been talking with our attorney and we wanted to understand what is the process of creating a new law or the guidelines. It will be a long process. Now, just for your subscribers to know, I think they're aware of that the Philippines just had this national election and a new administration is in transition right now to be in office. So those are the things that they need to factor in because that particular law will only start to be evaluated or revalidated or not revalidated, but if they will be actually screening that on the procedures if there will be a sponsored a politician that will put the bill on Congress, so or the lower house. Now it will be reviewed and approved also by the upper house, which is actually the Senate. And then once they have it done, they can also have a simultaneous approval of that. Then after that, then the president will be approving. I hope I actually got that. I have a good talk with our attorney when one of our talks. Like I just want to understand it clearly from the perspective of the legal matters. But it will take some time.
And whatever it starts out as, it's going to be amended and discussed, and it's not going to come out in the same, just like in the U.S. So, same thing. A bill is sponsored, and people put amendments to it. It goes to the other house, the Senate, and they change it. They send it back, you know, and they finally agree on something that, you know, or they don't. Type thing. So,
but what is the thing that we need to look out for is tomorrow is still uncertain, and based on the proclamation of our current president, not the new one, but President Duterte, that the Philippines is still under the state of calamity up until September of this year. That's in relation with COVID. So, if IATF would, hey, there's a surge of increase or sudden increase of this COVID infections going up, they can actually change the regulation. So we will never know. So at the end of the day, that's what we're talking right now. It's a peace of mind. Mind you, if I'm on your shoes as well and I want to relocate somewhere outside the Philippines, one thing that I will do for sure is I would make sure that I have a valid and legal stay of that country. That's my first priority. And of course, if you go there, I have to do some homework. How much does it cost? Is it really worth my time? Instead of you sitting on the beach, then you're going there, running errands, going back and forth several times to that government office. So those are the things that I would like to do also. And those are the things that we want you to be on a mindset going here to the Philippines, and we are here to help you.
All right. One other thing. There's many immigration offices around the Philippines.
Yes.
There's only a few as big as Mandaue City, the one here in Cebu City, Mandaue City
Yes.
area that is full service. You can get everything done here. Well, not everything. Some stuff still gets sent to Manila
Yes,
for
that's
approval,
true.
right?
That's true.
And a lot of like Dumaguete, there's certain things you cannot do in Dumaguete.
That's true.
A lot of expats there, but they've got to make a trip once a year or whatever. Like, can they do their yearly check-in in Dumaguete or not?
Yearly check, I think you're referring for the annual report.
Annual
yes, they
report.
can do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they can do.
But there's certain things like with the 13A and the SRRV that they can only process it up to it. But you, with your offices, they don't have to be here. They can mail stuff to you, and you can get documents in the mail. You can start working on their documents if they're in another smaller area of the Philippines, or if they're back in another country in Europe or Asia or the US, Canada, wherever. You can start working on their stuff while they're still some other place.
Yes, that is true.
They don't have to come to your office
Yeah.
to start the procedure.
Yeah, there are, that is true. There are instances right now, like for example, the 13A application. Roughly, you're gonna go to, you'll have 4 visits in the Bureau of Immigration. Number 1 is to file your paperwork. Number 2 is, normally after a week or a day after, you need to pay the fees if your paperwork is already complete. Number 3 is, you need to do the biometrics or the finger not the finger capturing, but the
Fingerprints.
fingerprints,
Yeah.
the data capturing for the HRI card, and also for the implementation of your approved visa. So those are the things. So we can actually do most of that except for one, because we cannot do the biometrics and fingerprints on your behalf. That should be you. So otherwise, my face will be appearing into multiple ACRI cards with different names. So those are the things that that we can do for you, or we can represent you, because as what I have mentioned earlier, we have actually worked our accreditation up with the Bureau of Immigration and the Retirement Office. So those are the things that we give of value to you. And we hope that you can actually feel that, and we are actually doing our best to have that one enhanced day on day, so that we can actually give you a better service also.
All right.
Yeah, and also I think one thing that I can add up, recently we have it's a sad story, but it's the way of life, it's reality. We have some applicants already coming to the office, or spouses that their retirement visa holder, the foreigner, passed away for any other reason, or not any other reason, but for natural reason. And sad to say, they have not well prepared of the visa deposit, because you cannot just take away the visa deposit from the retirement office. It needs to have a clearance from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, that's a tax office here in the Philippines, before the retirement office can release the visa deposit of that particular deceased retiree holder or visa holder. So those are the things you need to understand that. And sometimes what gets more complicated, if they have multiple properties, like for example, they have condominiums here, they have landed not landed properties, but other properties such corporation shares. Those are properties, and also cash in banks and the retirement office visa deposit. That's still 20 grand. So you need to factor that in, and you need to plot it out. And what if you also have a legal surviving heirs in the US? How would these properties be divided? And sometimes that is where the virtue or the convenience or the advantage of having the last will here, that can identify really that this particular sets of properties will go to your Filipino spouse or Filipino child. That will somehow protect you and give you a peace of mind while you are actually watching over there. And if you're not married, so the last will not be in effect, but it's a trust agreement. That's what I have asked also with our one of the conversation with our attorneys here also. So those are important things. As what I have mentioned, it's uncertain, but we're trying to map out things for you and probably you can also appoint someone who will administer the administrator for someone who could transition from your properties to the legal surviving heirs or the rightful heirs on that matter. In between, there are procedures. In between, there should be documents. And also, one thing that I will add, and it keeps on coming back, is there are. I know you want to retire in the Philippines, and you can actually have a lot of options here. And a foreigner cannot own a land in the Philippines, and they name it to their spouse. And still, I saw foreigners buying properties, even if it's buying a portion of that property, even if it's not properly and legally approved subdivided lots. That's a very, very risky thing to do. Because what if the particular registered owner have been to the great-great-grandma, and you're talking right now to the grandchildren or the grandchild, and what if the grandchildren wouldn't agree to sell that property? You're in big trouble. And every transfer of that from generation to generation involves an estate tax clearance, in which the tax office in the Philippines will collect an estate tax. So what if they're not here?
Right.
What if someone is in Poland, someone is in North Korea, someone is in the US, someone is in Luzon, someone is in Manila? You will be in great trouble in that. We don't want you to be in that situation. It will be a long ride, but at the end of the day, you know first-hand information from us. And if you would like to talk about it, let us know, and we will be looking forward to give the best possible advice that we can give. Some of our advices might not be according to your plan or according you want to hear, but that's the sad truth. At the end of the day, we cannot afford to see you in that situation. That's plain and simple.
Yeah, I've seen that happen personally a number of times. People that I've known, and yeah, they have a girlfriend or even a wife or something, but they have no will. They have no will, and there's too many other. The laws in the Philippines are completely different than what they are in the U.S. or other countries. So it's important to have that on legally stated. Now you're doing a lot of SRRV, and so what kind of problems do you run into?
For the immigration side visa, just like 13A, those are doable and much simpler here to apply in the Philippines. Why? For a reason, we only they will require of your marriage certificate, and that should be a yellow copy or a PSA. Meaning, a PSA is a government office that actually maintains all the birth certificates, marriage certificates here in the Philippines. So that's basically a yellow copy. And sometimes they will, I already have JR. This is a yellow copy. This is original, but that is still NSO. That's National Statistics Office. That's way back. I think 2 or 3 years ago. So now it's Philippine Statistics Authority. That's PSA. So we need to get a new one now. Also, there are applicants with their wives, Filipino spouse, coming here into the country. They enter into the balikbayan and they got married, for example, in Hawaii, and they got married 10 years ago. But 10 years ago is a different situation now. We're more techie, we're more record conscious. Before, probably it's not that the same. So they have not reported their marriage to the Philippine Embassy. So they also need to have that one reported. They can do that here, but it will take some time because you need to go to the DFA. Then the DFA will be coordinating with the embassy in Hawaii, and in Hawaii they will be coordinating with DFA again here in the Philippines, then the PSA. So if you can see the cycle, it will take you months. Don't actually be don't assume that it will be fast, because it will go on a series of process from one government office to another. That's one of the major things that we bump into the 13A application. And also take advantage of the situation right now wherein the Bureau of Immigration have not required yet the actual interview before the visa application will be processed, because that's in lieu with that is their measure of the during the COVID situation time, that in lieu with that interview with both spouses, they only require you to fill in a series of questionnaire, and that will be good up until their further notice. So if you have been into the balikbayan, and sometimes you can actually have some urgent matter to go back to the US, for example, we would actually recommend to you to apply for the spousal visa. There are fees. That's normal here. But what you need to understand right now is that particular visa will give you a legal stay, a peace of mind, and you will not be conscious about what will happen in the next 36 months if I will not go out. What if there will be a new variant of this virus in which there's already a fox saying something. So those are the things. So it will give you a sense of peace of mind. Mind you, we have different perspective, but at the end of the day, it will be your option and choice how to move forward. Yeah. I have actually mentioned this earlier, but we'll be expounding it more. For the SRRV, the retirement visa, we bump into the routing number roadblock, especially if they're here already and they actually have an what do you call that, an online banking. They try to do the inward remittance, because the requirement of the Philippine Retirement Authority is it should be an inwardly remitted funds, because they want also to monitor the money activities or the money laundering activities. Some of the banks in the US would require a routing number, so that's not here. So that's a problem that you need to anticipate. So how can we solve that problem is we can actually, if you plan to have the retirement visa in the next few weeks, it would be much advantage if you're gonna plan it ahead, not only with the documents but also with the monetary requirements. That's one thing. And also the apostillization, because sometimes I think the apostillization, before they do the apostle, it needs to go to a notary before they can do the apostle. So a notary is not the complete authentication process of any foreign document that you need to submit to the retirement office. That's one. So you need to have the clearly specified or clearly identified, so that you will not have hiccups along the way when you want to apply for the retirement visa. And that thereafter, one of the things also that there's a little bit misconception on that, because and I know if I'm the retiree, I'm sending money like 20 grand in the US, and the retirement office will give me the bank certificate thereafter when my visa is approved. We're also trying to find a way to have to get a reference number and a number from the PRA Finance or the retirement office finance for you to have the verification, because that specific bank certification that you have that amount of money in relation to your visa deposit requirement for your visa application is duly received, and you have a proof of ownership that you have those amount of money in the bank, which is really which is actually for your requirement. Now, those are the major things. The other things are also sometimes they bump into, they have what they call that, they have records here in the Philippines. So one of the major requirement of the visa, especially if you have submitted 30 days after your latest arrival, is an NBI clearance. Sometimes they forget that they have a record that was already dismissed, a case probably here in the Philippines. Now you need to actually show those documentation that you have. If you have a case in the Philippines and it was dismissed, you need to have that one to be shown during your interview with the NBI. That's the National Bureau of Investigation. That's a nationwide search of any records of any applicant of that particular certificate. Now, once you can show that, they will release your NBI. And also for the NBI clearance, most of the foreigners who have actually applied for the NBI for the first time cannot go into sub offices or the small offices or the satellite offices of the NBI, normally they would only entertain applications on that regional office. Like for in Cebu, that is in capital area, you cannot get it in Karkar, you cannot get it in Bugo NBI office. So that's only in Cebu City, and we are actually here also to assist you in that matter.
So, all right, very good. Thank you very much, JR.
And thank you always, Rod. I do appreciate having us again with your channel, and hopefully one of these days, one of our team member will be the one representing us, so that we will have a new face of JRC Visa Consultancy and Immigration Services. And thank you again. Take care, everyone, and take care, Rod. It's been my pleasure to give information to you, and wish you all the best. If you're coming to Cebu or the Philippines, let us know. I will be glad to have a shot of whiskey with you in the office. Take care.